Actually, as much as it might surprise you, we've been doing algebra right here. These two symbols, the square and the triangle, that we assigned to replace the words that we had written earlier, are called variables. In algebra, we make a distinction between numbers and variables. Numbers are, well, numbers, like 3 million or 100,000. And variables are generally represented by symbols or single letters. A variable doesn't have a set value like a number does. Instead, its value is allowed to vary, depending on what we decide that it should equal. We'll talk more about how we make decisions about that soon. Numbers will appear either as constant terms on their own, just numbers, like 3 million right here, or in terms that combine numbers and variables, like this last one on the right. When multiplied by a variable or set of variables, a number is called a coefficient. So again, going back to our variables, I could have chosen any two symbols I wanted to represent these two quantities right here, the square and the triangle. I didn't have to choose a triangle, and I didn't have to choose a square. In fact, picking these two particular symbols is actually pretty unconventional in math. To give you a preview of what you're usually going to be seeing during this course, I'll write this equation out with more typical notation. We'll most often see the letters x and y as our variables in equations in algebra. You can see I've also removed the dollar signs and the commas from the original equation down here to make this equation look a little bit more clean and strictly mathematical. You'll notice that I also sneakily deleted the multiplication sign we had in the top equation and didn't write it down here at the bottom. When we have single terms that involve both numbers and variables multiplied together, we don't usually write the multiplication sign in like I did at the top. As long as we write the symbols directly next to each other, with nothing in between, multiplication is assumed to be happening between them. It's like there's an invisible multiplication sign written right here. I'm going to erase that, though, to remind us that we're not usually going to see any multiplication signs written between numbers and variables. Although people doing math often use the variables y and x in their equations, I really want you to remember that this is not necessary. Triangles and squares are just as useful as x's and y's. No matter what symbol you choose to write a variable with, the power that it has is still the same. It acts as a slot where we can insert different numbers to make terms and expressions take on different values. So maybe I set this first variable equal to 3 and the second equal to -1. Or maybe this is -1/2 and this is 23. In certain situations, there will be restrictions placed on what different variables can equal. But until we have more information about what they equal, we leave them written as variables, showing that their values are still sort of a mystery to us.